Since the dawn of time, humans have made it their paramount question to explore and find meaning in the world around them. From the primordial discovery of fire to the exploring the great cosmic void of space, humans have made knowledge their utmost concern. The exponential advancement of knowledge can be partly attributed to education, in which in the modern age is institutionally conducted. In some schools of thought, institutionalized education is viewed as a method of liberation and a way to break the encumbrances of deprivation and prejudice. However, institutionalized education can also has challenges through which prejudice and mismanagement are openly seen. In this video, we will discuss the different perspectives on institutionalized education and whether it provides more harm than good. Firstly, let us discuss the history of institutionalized education. In the nascent beginnings of human civilization, children educated themselves through play and individual experiences. However, through the introduction of agriculture, individuals were forced only to learn what would serve their feudal masters, creating hierarchical educational differences. This sentiment that individuals would only learn what served their masters changed as the Industrial Revolution and adaptations in religion ushered in the idea of universal education. Universal education, first implemented in the mid 17th century, was one of the first examples of institutionalized education. In universalized education, all received a mandated education regardless of any determining factors. Nevertheless, there were still some flaws with universal education. With the rise of schooling, people began to think of learning as children's work. The same power assertive methods that had been used to make children work in the fields and factories were quite naturally transferred to the classroom. As stated by Peter Gray in his report on the history of education, corporal punishment and abuse were common in the classroom. There are many perspectives on institutionalized education. For example, Thomas Sewell, a famous American economist stated that education is not merely neglected in many of our schools today, but is replaced to a great extent by ideological indoctrination. However, there are also positive remarks on education. Nelson Mandela, the former South African president, stated that education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. In this video, we will discuss the different sociological perspectives, answer the question, does institutionalized education provide oppression or liberation through differing fictional examples and analysis. In our first example, we will view the Marxist ideology on institutionalized education through the fictional professor Viji. Viji is a university professor. Excited to start her tenure, she takes attendance. Noticing that one of her students had yet to show up, Viji called the student to her office at a later time. She asked the student why they had not attended class, and the student said that they were too poor to afford the college courses to attend class, and due to their father losing their union job, she dropped out. As one can see, when viewed through a Marxist lens, further institutionalized education is limited for lower income students due to economic inequality, in which only those above a certain earning status tend to continue their formal education. According to Marx and Education by Jean Onion, 2009 study found that 68% of affluent students go on to complete their bachelor's degree, while only 9% of students from low-income families can do that. So analyzing this, you can see that further education is limited due to economic inequality, which only those above a certain earning status tend to continue their formal education. Due to the wealth gap, only 9% of lower income students finish their bachelor degree, while the opportunity is only reserved for the higher classes to just receive a complete education. Marx also argues that education can be used as a weapon to appeal to the lower classes to gain authority over those who appeal to the rule. So the bourgeoisie finds itself involved in a constant battle. In all these battles, it sees itself compelled to appeal to the proletariat, to ask for help, and thus to drag it into the political arena. The bourgeoisie itself, therefore, supplies the proletariat with its own elements of political and general education. Marx states from this example that the bourgeoisie uses the lower class as basic just collateral. The institutions in which the lower class receives the education allows only for schooling that adheres to the rules of the bourgeoisie, which only elevates oppression. Similarly, even children in the lower class are hampered during their formative and young years. Affluent parents talk to their child 3 more hours a week on average than poor parents, which is critical during a child's formative years. This allows for rich students increasingly entering kindergarten much better prepared to succeed in school than middle class students. According to Matt O'Brien, wealthier families give their child a far better foundation to succeed academically, which is attributed to more parental involvement. Due to the challenging work life of lower class parents who need to make a living wage to survive, their children are robbed of the stepping stones to achieve good academic standing. Even if the lower class citizens break the glass ceiling that ever so contains them, they are simply just scratching the glass floor of the higher class. Likewise, Noam Chomsky argues that institutionalized education kills the individual persona and thought. We will support this idea through a fictional example of the fictional professor Suda. Suda is a college professor. He recently proposed creating a more individualized based curriculum through which students explore the topic that they are most interested in. By using the new curriculum, Suda has seen increased class literacy and achievement. Showing his finding to the board of directors in the college, Suda has his request declined due to the lack of a set marking and grading system. Summarizing this story, Suda found his request declined due to a lack of a safe framework. Chomsky disagrees with this statement, in which he agrees that individualized education oppresses individual thought and that an individualized education is needed for a student to truly learn. In his speech about the purpose of education, Chomsky argues that education is like a piece of technology. Technology always can be used for good and evil, or evil, decided by the frameworks in which technology is implemented. Institutionalized education, such as schools and universities, shape the education system to indoctrinate their students. By removing the questioning of doctrine and replacing it with simple regurgitation, the lower class allows for subjugation by the ruling class. However, Chomsky does agree the economic system can be changed for the better by implementing the central pedagogical concept of individualized education. Students will gain more and allow for better information uptake when they truly discover and truly find what interests them. And this sentiment is even backed up in research. In a study analyzing the implementation of an individual style education for foster children in Finland, research results show an improvement in academic skills where those same children had trouble. Indeed, one can see how much the benefit is when the child is prioritized over the information the child studied and the grade that the child gets. In conclusion, one can see how institutionalized education allows for economic disparities to benefit certain students and replaces individual thought for simple regurgitation. It should be noted, however, that despite institutionalized education creates oppression, the education system can still change in favor of the questions that challenge our world. The same questions that made man discover fire and explore the stars should be implemented in our current system so that society will advance and discover even more. Thank you.